Okay.
We'll start sharply at 10, sir.
Okay, no problem. In my
Yeah.
clock or in my watch, that's another 5 minutes away.
No, I mean, this will be the beginning. I think we have to bring back local governments as center stage.
Yeah.
Um, Perhaps we can follow up with a webinar of the best performing local governments in India who have intervened in the pandemic, bring their experiences.
I see that you have a
This is,
number of local government elected representatives tomorrow,
yeah,
particularly
tomorrow
from
we have got
Kerala.
3 sessions where they are present.
But I think the problem for non-Malayalis like me is that they're probably all going to be speaking in Malayalam, and we may have some difficulty in following it.
Uh, no, sir. We have ensured they speak in English. And
Oh,
in
really?
case
Mhm.
president cannot speak, then it is videographed and presented.
Okay.
So there will be narrative will be in English, maybe an occasional sentence or two in Malayalam.
That's all
Otherwise,
right.
narrative will be in English.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Yeah.
Is Yamini around?
Yamini was the one who did all the technical job. I wouldn't have known what to do. In fact, I just panicked at 9:30 because it was the internet was not coming on. And I'd
Uh,
actually noted that even yesterday it wasn't coming on. But then I forgot to call her in for technical help. And this morning, when she eventually fetched up at about 9:35, I was in a panic, but she was completely calm, and she did succeed with the help of your technicians in getting this connection through.
yeah.
Well, I've now passed on the baton, and I think she knows much, much more about
So
Panchayati
now
Raj
it's
than
time,
I
sir.
do.
Let's start sharply at 10 itself. So 3 more minutes. Yeah. Okay, you
We
start.
understand that all the panelists of the day and particularly for the session have logged in. So we will be starting sharp at 10 a.m.
2 more minutes.
So, as all of you are aware, the program is spread over 2 days, over two
Okay,
long days.
introduce yourself.
I'm KJ Joseph, Director of Youth, and we understand that all the panelists of the inaugural session have already logged in. So we are going to start the program at 10 o'clock. We have one more minute left. Trying to kill time to kind of tell those who are waiting to hear from us in terms of the program. We have already sent the program to all of you. As usual, we have a very tightly packed program with 2 days. Starting at 10 o'clock. Tomorrow we'll be starting at 9:30. Please ensure that all of you are joining us at 9:30. Today we are going to start at 10 o'clock. So especially, you may please note that as Sri Manishankar Iyer rightly raised the concern, though we are going to present the experience of local self-governments in tomorrow in Kerala, the deliberations will be in English, and even if some of the local self-government representatives are speaking in Malayalam, there will be subtitles in English. We ensure that nothing deliberated here remain ununderstood. So thank you very much to all of you. It's at 10 o'clock. I have my pleasant duty of welcoming all of you for the inaugural session in particular and for the webinar on COVID-19 pandemic and local governments. This is jointly organized by Kerala Institute of Local Administration and Gujarat Institute of Finance and Taxation. So, Sri Manishangarayar, formerly the Honorable Union Minister for Panchayati Raj Government of India, Sri A.C. Moideen, Honorable Minister for Local Self-Governments, Government of Kerala, Dr. T.M. Thomas Isaac, Honorable Minister for Finance and Choir, Government of Kerala, and Chairperson of GIFT, Dr. Yasmin Ali Haq, Representative UNICEF India, Dr. S.S. Meenakshi Sundaram, IAS, former Secretary, Government of India, Sri Jagadananda, former State Information Commissioner, Odisha, chairpersons of the various sessions to be held today and tomorrow, and the panelists of all the sessions, friends of Hila and GIFT who have logged in online, ladies and gentlemen. We at GIFT extremely feel happy because this is a wonderful opportunity that we got to join hands with Hila to reflect upon an issue of paramount importance today, that is the COVID-19 pandemic and the local self-governments. This event, in fact, being conceived by our chairperson and Honorable Minister for Local Governments, A.C. Moideen. Sri Moideen, for unexpected commitments, could not be here, but he has sent his recorded video special inaugural address, which will be.
Professor Joseph, please hold the microphone closer to your mouth.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So, to my mind, local self-governments or democratic decentralization is an innovation of first order with its profound influence, not only in terms of how democracies work and how we empower people. This is, in fact, a major change that made difference in the way in which people have been able to make difference in their fight in COVID-19 pandemic. So today we have differential experience across the world, while the world at large over the last 40 to 50 years made self-reliance the most maligned term and embraced, revealed a comparative advantage with utmost passion. What we have seen over time is the importance of local self-governments and self-reliance has taken a backseat. And we have seen that under globalization with all its virtues, with the pandemic, this new pandemic, we are going to have a very new world and new way of life after the pandemic, if we can expect those after pandemic days. So it is very important today that the topic which is taken up in this context, it is very much important to see how pandemic, the local self-governments have influenced our fight with COVID-19. In fact, it is in fact not countries that fight with pandemic. It is the people who fight with pandemic. Unless you empower people, you won't be able to fight with the pandemic. Here, we have 2 days deliberations. My job is, I consider a very pleasant one to welcome all of you to this conference, to this webinar. And I'm not going to spend time in terms of, welcoming each one of you. Nonetheless, and I feel very important that I welcome especially the speakers in the inaugural session. We have um, Sri Manishankar Iyer, for whom decentralized development is in fact part of his life. In fact, I heard so much about him from Sri Jairam Ramesh, who's talk about him. And for him, decentralized development is a passion. So thank you very much for kindly agreeing to our honorable minister's invitation to join us. And we are extremely happy that this event is jointly guided by the two ministers, uh, Sri S.E. Moitin and Dr. C.M. Thomas Isaac, who in the mid-90s, in fact, took Kerala on a major change by steering the decentralized development process in Kerala. Now we have got Dr. Yasmin Ali Haq. I know that a country representative of UNICEF today, I'm sure she has a very hectic schedule. Nonetheless, she has kindly agreed to our invitation and agreed to speak to us to deliver the special address. Similarly, Dr. Meenakshi Sundaram and Jagadananda, both of them with their enormous experience, accumulated experience, and they have, because of their commitment to the cause, they have agreed to join us. So I welcome all of you for your for being with us, and I would like welcome all those who have logged in online. And with these words, I would like to invite um, Sri Manishankar Iyer to chair this session and conduct the proceedings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Honorable Minister of Finance, Kerala, Comrade T.M. Thomas Isaac, the two state ministers in absentia, Honorable Ishwarappa ji and the Honorable Mohiddin ji, as well as all distinguished panelists and all distinguished participants. I think it is entirely appropriate that we should begin by thanking Professor K.J. Joseph and Professor Joy Elamon for having brought this webinar together under the overall guidance of Sri Thomas Isaac. This is an unique occasion and we should be celebrating it. But I'm afraid, as chair of this session, I'm obliged to begin on a somewhat dour note. I note with great regret the absence of not only the Union Minister of Panchayati Raj, but also of any representative of the Ministry of Panchayati Raj in Delhi. This, I think, is a major lacuna because COVID-19 is not a local government problem or a state government problem. It is a national problem. And it's a national problem that calls for cooperative federalism and not for non cooperative federalism, which appears to be the fate that is overtaking this seminar, where we will be hearing a number of voices from the grassroots and a number of voices that have been champions of Panchayati Raj for the last 25 years and more, as also from the founder of the People's Movement, that's Thomas Isaac himself, which was the earliest experiment in tying the governmental system of Panchayati Raj to the participation of the people. So all these are extremely important voices, and it is a pity that they are not being heard in New Delhi, except I hope clandestinely. Perhaps somebody in the ministry is looking into this webinar. Under these circumstances, it is my job, I think, to try to introduce the concept of why this is to be seen as a three front exercise. Because it is a national issue, it is absolutely essential that the macro picture on policy guidelines be laid down by the union government, but with a clear understanding that any policy, any large general national policy to influence the outcome will have to require not only the cooperation and wholehearted participation of the state governments, but also of the third tier of government. And this is where I'd like to emphasize that the Constitution in Article 243G defines the panchayats as units of local self government and not self governance. And that is the critical contribution that the constitutional amendments of 1992 made to the original conception and of Mahatma Gandhi. And that is why I think it is necessary to bring local government in as part and parcel of the machinery at the three levels. The macro level, which is defined by the central government, the micro level, which is defined by the state governments, and the nano level, which will have to be defined, as it has been in Kerala, by the panchayats and the people. And that is why I greatly welcome the expression people will fight the pandemic that has been used by Professor Joseph. That really sets the tone for this seminar. In our constitution, the ineluctability of local government is given constitutional sanction. But apart from establishing a uniform structure of Panchayati Raj in the country as a whole and ensuring through reservations that at least a minimum reservation in both the extent of that reservation and in the manner in which that reservation is implemented for the scheduled castes, for the scheduled tribes, for the backward classes, and for women is written into the Constitution. But apart from that, the Constitution mostly has recommendatory suggestions to make, including the 11th and 12th schedules, which illustratively set out what is the role or the ambit of work of the local self government units. These are to be translated into statutory powers through state legislation. Indeed, Article 243G and its counterpart for the municipalities says that the legislature of a state by law shall, etc. So there has to be conformity legislation to bring the constitutional provisions into legislative effect. And that very happily all state governments without exception have done. So, what are recommendatory provisions of the central legislation, that is the Constitution, have been translated into law, into state law by state legislations. So schedules 12 and 13, sorry, 11 and 12, to the extent that they are illustrative in the Constitution, have become obligatory and statutory under state law. State law has, in some minor cases, excluded some entries in the 11th schedule and the 12th schedule. But by and large, they have added rather than subtracted from the ambit of duties of the different levels of Panchayati Raj, that is the village level, the intermediate level, and the district level, as well as the town panchayats and the municipalities. To a large extent, metropolitan India has not been covered in parts 9 and 9A of the Constitution, which came into existence as a result of the 73rd and 74th Amendments, respectively. What we are seeing in actual practice, because COVID 19 is more evident in metropolitan India than it is in semi urban or rural India, is that while the Brihan Mumbai Corporation, for instance, or the Chennai Corporation or the Kolkata Corporation are deeply involved in what is to be done about fighting this pandemic, there is virtually no understanding at the center as to what should be the role of the units of local self government at the panchayat and the municipal level. This is something that needs to be rectified urgently in the conception of the role of different levels of government in fighting this pandemic. At the state level, Kerala, Karnataka, and some other states that have made considerable progress with regard to empowering, effectively empowering the panchayats and other units of local self government, they have understood that they have the infrastructure, the governance infrastructure, to make the local units of self government active partners in this war against the pandemic. But in states that have yet to effectively empower the physical infrastructure of local government, there we find that there is inadequate knowledge and inadequate experience. So, bringing together all states under the umbrella of this webinar is a really intelligent way of sending out the message that what has been shown to be practical in Kerala and some other states is transferable to all the states where the constitution applies and where the local legislatures, the state legislatures, have empowered, at least legally, the units of local self government to take on their responsibilities. In these circumstances, while I am skeptical about the role that the union government will play in urging the full empowerment of the panchayats to handle this crisis, I'm hopeful that the example being set by several southern states and some western states, and a few northern states in this regard, as also perhaps isolated instances of the east and the northeast, that we will be able, as we move into the next phase of easing the lockdown and bringing economic requirements to the forefront, that it will be realized that the panchayats are not only essential to fight the pandemic as well as promote the economic resurgence, they're also essential as instruments of self government to be effective. There is the new phenomenon in the phase that will follow in the second fortnight of May and has already commenced of large numbers of migrant workers, as they are called, entering rural India and bringing them with them not only the joy of the reunion with their families, but also the danger of this disease spreading into those parts of India which have thus far been free of it. And the only place that these migrant workers can go and settle in is their villages and is their town panchayats and is their municipalities. They're coming away from the metropolitan areas. And therefore, while this is to be welcomed, greatly welcomed, I think it is necessary to understand that we need the effective delivery of all kinds of assistance to these migrant workers, which can only effectively be done by the local government authorities. Indeed, there would be no need for Panchayati Raj if the local bureaucracy had earlier proved effective. It is because the local bureaucracy on its own was unable to provide effective last mile delivery of public goods and services that we had resort to the panchayats, not working independently of the local bureaucracy, but in cooperation with them. And that is Kerala's major achievement. It's not as if the local bureaucracy has been replaced by the local self government units, but that a synergistic method of keeping the panchayats as autonomous self governing institutions, but at the same time in a cooperative relationship with the state government authorities at the district and sub district level, that we have had the successes that have laid the foundations for the Kerala panchayats to react as effectively as they have done to this pandemic. That is the big lesson to be learned. Also, Kerala has the particular problem that a vast proportion of its workforce is in fact expatriate. There are Malayalis to be found everywhere from China to the United States and heavily concentrated in the Gulf area. And all these are areas of far higher pandemic consequences than India is or Kerala is. They are going to be coming back in very large numbers and they will have to be resettled. Where? Not in the metropolitan areas, but in the areas covered by the 73rd and 74th Amendment. And therefore, Kerala is already demonstrating that these institutions of local self government can be very effectively used for the resettlement of the expatriate migrant worker without endangering the local population than any other state in India. So I think it is extremely appropriate that this webinar is a Kerala initiative. I think it's a very encouraging thing that this webinar is going to cover all parts of India except the union government. And I hope that from this webinar, the message will even penetrate the ears of the union government that we have to make cooperative federalism effective through having, and I'm quoting Sonia Gandhi here, a strong center, strong state governments, and strong panchayats. That is the way forward. And over the course of the next 2 days, I'm sure we're going to learn a lot, teach a lot, pick up on the experience of each other, and make the Indian response to what is happening more effective than it has even been so far, and to enable the reintegration of those who've had to leave their homes to find work with the local population without any significant rise in the number of cases or the number of deaths. And I've asked Professor Isaac to kindly arrange for the latest international celebrity, who is the health minister, the Honorable Health Minister of Kerala, to kindly also participate in this seminar, if possible, tomorrow, because she and Thomas have together lit the lamp of effective local government for an effective response to this pandemic. Thank you for having invited me to chair this seminar. I'll now request the videograph of the Kerala Minister of Local Self-Government, Janab Mohyuddin Saib, to now be screened. Thank you very much.
Respected Sri MGNREGS, I am very respected friends. I am privileged to be with you during this national webinar on COVID-19 pandemic and local governments. This world is passing through the phase of fear due to the COVID-19. It is still not known how many people in this world will affect or how much the damages will be as a result of this fearful disease declared as pandemic by the WHO. The statistics emerging each day is terrifying. Capitalist countries which had ignored public health services are not able to deal with this pandemic. America is having maximum number of COVID cases. Many other developed countries are also struggling. Kerala, with our limited financial resources, has been effectively fighting this pandemic. We have rich experience from the Kerala development model, well-developed public health system, experience from People's Plan campaign, and strong local government system. India's first case of corona was reported in Kerala on 13th January 2020. Since then, we have been successfully organizing disaster response. In the process, Kerala have been learning now new lessons and updating ourselves. This webinar is also an effort to learn from others, to share our experience. As soon as the epidemic was reported from China, a definite system was designed with surveillance, testing and monitoring. People were brought into online. In some cases, home isolation was introduced. At the state level, in the health sector, there is state level rapid response team under the leadership of the health minister monitoring the health aspects of the pandemic. There is a state medical board to handle the technical and clinical aspects of case management. There is an expert committee too. The State Disaster Management Authority, under the chairmanship of Honorable Chief Minister, plays a major role in the management of this national disaster. The monitoring of all activities are done. Details from the grassroots like the panchayats, are consolidated at the district level and state level. There is a war room with high-level officers from all relevant departments which works round the clock. Each such department has a COVID cell. In December 2019, the Kerala government directed all local self-governments to prepare local disaster management plans. This has helped the local government in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Now they are working jointly with the health department and the STMA to effectively curb the COVID-19. LHs have been organizing awareness campaigns on personal hygiene and need for social distancing. The campaign was named Break the Chain. Local governments appointed 433 new doctors to the PHCs and 342 junior health inspectors to the municipalities. More than 3 lakhs volunteers were reported in the local. Various committees have been formed to monitor the activities in the local level. Rapid response teams were formed. Ward level community groups under the leadership of the respective ward members, along with health workers, Anganwadi workers, ASHA workers, Kudumbasri members, SC/ST promoters were also constituted to collect details on vulnerable groups to ensure timely support to them in case of an emergency. Those who are in quarantine or in home isolation are also monitored to ensure they did not violate it. Most importantly, food and other facilities are also arranged by the local self-government for the deserving groups during the lockdown. Community kitchens have been started across the state. On receiving instructions from the state government within hours, every local self-governments across the state rose to the challenge and set up community kitchens in their area. Till date, 86 lakhs people have been provided food from the community kitchens. 75 lakhs have received it through home delivery. The state has been taking great care in the health and well-being of migrant workers. LHs had done a massive exercise to map their camps and assess the living conditions. Wherever the condition is not good, camps were set up and provided food from the community kitchen for their choice. If they do not prefer Kerala food, they were provided with food kits with the help of department concerned so that they can prepare it themselves. Every day, when the figures of status of various points related to COVID-19 prevention in Kerala is prepared, it is to be noted that at the local level, the local self-government provide the data on a day-to-day basis. The emergency response team in the Department of Local Self-Governments coordinate these activities. All these are done through Kudumbasri, health workers, ASHA, Anganwadis, volunteer teams at the ground level. The LSD staff also play a commendable role. This is possible because all these are under the broad umbrella of Panchayat Raj or LSD system, which we have created over the last 25 years since the People's Plan campaign. As the lockdown gets relaxed, the local self-government will have to play a key role in the surveillance and monitoring of home isolation. They are already in the process of preparing to establish first line treatment centers and more isolation centers if the need arises. We are also preparing for the future, especially for food security. The local self-government department is tying up with the agriculture, animal husbandry, fisheries, industries, and cooperation departments for this. We are planning a scheme, Subiksha Kerala, whereby the local self-governments can take projects to promote agriculture through their annual plans. The department is aiming at schemes amounting to 3,830 crores rupees for this. I hope that this webinar gives us an opportunity to share our experience and learn from each other. I wish the program all success. I also formally declare this webinar open. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I now call upon Dr. Thomas Isaac, Minister of Finance, Government of Kerala, to take the floor.
Yes, thank you, Sri Manishankar Ayarji. It's a great pleasure to be on the same platform as you. And Dr. Yasmin, yeah, I didn't say hello to you. I saw your face on the screen. And Dr. Meenakshi Sundaram, Sri Jagadananda, and dear friends, many of us who are going to be on this webinar have been working together on this mission of decentralizing the governance in India from early 1990s. Our process of coming together started with a very high note of great expectations with the passage of 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment. But over time, in most places, expectations were not realized. A kind of stalemate set in. And then once again, when during the second UPA government, the expert committee on leveraging Panchayati Raj institutions, chaired by Manish Shanghaiya, was set up. It again roused. Maybe it will be the new beginning. But I think the hopes were belied. Today, the pandemic gives rise to certain hope that it would be an appropriate time to bring back the Panchayati Raj governance into the center stage. Now, that's very obvious sitting in Kerala for the simple reason the medical institutions, outside the medical colleges, all the PHCs, CHCs, and taluk hospitals, and so on, are all transferred institutions to local governments. And the health staff there are under due control. And local governments, even normal times, also play a very important role in the functioning of the health institutions in Kerala. Therefore, in this health emergency time, it's very obvious that local governments are going to play a very, very important role. Yeah, should have invited the health minister also. We just had a seminar, a webinar again, today, a week back, where she was chairing the session. And That's the reason, but I'll see to that. I'll meet her today, invite her to come and have a special address before the session on health. Yeah, your suggestion is accepted. It will be done. So it is obvious, but it may not be so in other states. But I think the chairman, you have already hinted a very important role the local governments can play in the pandemic time. Now, any disaster management is highly hierarchical, centralized process. But now there is also, it is also our experience in Kerala, particularly from the flood times, that the local governments would have to play a very important role, because whatever be your policy, your broad framework, ultimately the action takes place at the local level, particularly relief work and rehabilitation work. And therefore, in fact, there's a session in our webinar, local governments and disaster management. As the minister now, this inaugural address hinted, local governments in Kerala have all prepared a contingency plan for disaster management in the locality, in case that flood return, in case the natural disaster comes, what should be done and so on. In fact, we are going to prepare the floods, not only pandemic. We are expecting the flood this time also, because rains are going to be heavy. Well, but now so therefore it's very important to have flexibility in times of pandemic and other emergencies. Very simple thing from our experience, how local conditions can be so different, and in your intervention has got to be different. There is we have been by and large generally totally accepting whatever guidelines that are laid by the central government, because we understand you need to have a command system. Everybody, it's not the time for democratic debate and so on. So that has been so. But now there has been a serious difference of opinion regarding quarantining. Where do you quarantine? The kind of outside Malayalis returning home. Kerala has taken the position they are best quarantined for 14 days in their own house. Now, central government guideline is that they be quarantined in institutions. Now, I think it is understandable why Delhi thinks so. Because India at large, you cannot think of house quarantine for in the villages and so on. But Kerala situation is so different. Majority of the people have pakka houses. That's the safest place to place them. They can have separate room within the house. And when you have institutional quarantine, there are a large number of people, and there are people who will have to serve them food and so on, visiting room by room. Suppose there is a positive case, there will be carriers to everybody else. There's a big danger. So from our experience, we have decided, well, house quarantining would be better. But now it has gone to the court. You see, I think this is a minimum, a kind of flexibility that should come with, because India is such a huge country and situations are so different. So I can give other examples where flexibility is very, very important. Anyway, the first statement that I want to make, I fully agree with the chairman that we need to have local governments can play a very important role in containing, in fighting coronavirus. One, now that lockdown is lifted, people are moving from place to place. It's very important in every locality that people look out. Only there you can identify people who have come up from outside. And they have to be put under observation. Who else can do it? Everybody is living by food from one end of India to another. And who is going to keep their address list and so on? Only in the village, who has come into the village. And then there must be some authority in the village asking them to stay in the house. So starting from identification, tracing, observing, and testing these people, a local authority will have to play an important role. And now, suppose you're putting somebody under observation, quarantine, then it is not just closing him or her into a room. You have to provide the food, medicine, counseling, palliative care. This cannot be done from above. Yeah. If you are serious about it, the local players have to be in action. And then once you are exiting from this lockdown or the pandemic times, then agriculture becomes the prime mover. Okay, it's where you start. And that is preeminently a domain of the local government, the local people, how to do that. We have got a session on MGNREGS. How do you use MGNREGS to unlock your agriculture? Now that cannot be planned from outside. Just be MGNREGS at least for some time, to the pandemic time, made more flexible, so that the small scale enterprises, the farmers who have been under lockdown, can effectively leverage MGNREGS. Or using now, for example, Government of India has put 10,000 crores, I don't know, in micro food enterprises and micro enterprise other support schemes. So now women self-help groups are the ideal existing institution that can be leveraged. Now, situation in states are different. In Kerala, all the SHGs, the Kudumbashree energies, are with the local government. You don't federate them above the local government. So, if you want to leverage very important two institutions, say MGNREGS, Employment Guarantee Program, and SHGs, then local government has to be a central fulcrum around which local planning, local activities go on. So in this case, I think it is very important, and something which I was suspecting Mani Shankar Iyer to refer to, because it was his most favorite theme of activity mapping. It's very important. We have activity mapping of the disaster management, health emergency, what the central government will do, what state government will do, what the local government will do. See, that raw clarity has to be brought. That is very, very important. We should start. Raw clarity be brought. And then there's a question of finance. Unfortunately, now if you take India at large, the major source of funds are Union Finance Commission's fund. That is the only assured money the local governments in most parts get, except states like Kerala and so on. But when our report on the expert committee on leveraging Panchayat Raj institutions was written, regarding the planning, we had three contingencies. First, bare minimum, that is, Panchayat gets only Union Finance Commission and also MGNREGS. At that time, we had a backward area program also. But these two, what could be done? And the report says that a lot of things can be done. Can be done. There are many other good things to be leveraged, and it can be done. So we had worked out three types of plans, interventions. So the money, you have to understand what is the money available. Perhaps we make a request to the Union Finance Commission itself. Another interim report that would provide more money to the local governments. At least do away with this classification, the basic grant and tied grant. Give them freedom to do what is necessary. So I think experiences in India are going to be very, very different from state to state. But I am certain all local governments across India are forced to intervene in some way or other. because that's the local powers institution by constitution on the local level. I also see reports. You see, one panchayat in Kerala just started physical distancing. We don't call it social distancing. We call it physical distancing by umbrella program. Okay, everybody should carry umbrella if they go out to the house. So everybody carries umbrella. Everybody would be 1 meter from each other. Buying things in the queue or in the crowd, everywhere you had to stand with an umbrella. Now I thought it was an isolated incident. Then I get from Bharatpur in Rajasthan, where they have decreed, the Panchayat has decreed that they should stand with umbrella in front of the liquor shop and other shops, so that there is a distancing. Then I now hear that in Maharashtra, some panchayats are taking it up. So there is a lot of things going on the bottom level. So this webinar, I thought now these sessions today and tomorrow would bring together the experiences in various places. I think it is the beginning of a kind of search to put together the experience. How did the local governments perform? How did they face the challenge? And have some people taken the initiative or not? We should put together information not just here, but people who are going to participate in the webinar, perhaps they could take initiative, write it up, a kind of paper. And the presentation here can be the beginning of such a paper, a survey of experience that is going on in India. Let's bring it together. And that I hope would provide a kind of platform from which we'll start again the dialogue, bringing in everybody. We don't want to be closed, but we'll keep on talking. It's very strange situation in India. You think in such a big emergency, everybody will want to come and talk. Okay, how to do it. But I find, for example, even opposition parties, it's not a kind of difference between ruling somebody and some people know. Even opposition party, some diffidence in trying to have a common understanding how to face this emergency. Then alternative discourse. So we have taken this initiative, but just to bring people to talk to each other. And then we'll continue to do that. Be sure this virus is going to be with us for some time. Maybe in a year. That's the time. Yes, 2020 is gone with the virus. And this is going to be a new normal for the year. And therefore, this won't be the end, but this will be the beginning. I hope, and as I told you, perhaps everybody will write down what they have time to say, because time is limited in the presentation here. And we'll have more fruitful discussions to come. So thank you very much. It's a great feeling to be once again the all-time colleagues in this big fight and democratize our governance system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thomas Isaac. That was a really important intervention. And now we are looking forward to the videographed contribution by the Honorable Minister of Karnataka, Sri Ishwarappa.
Sorry, we couldn't get his videograph message yesterday.
I see. Well, in that case,
sorry that. Yeah.
In that case, I think we can go on to the next speaker, who is Dr. Yasmin Ali Haq of UNICEF India. And I would ask her to make her presentation, noting that we have a total of 35 minutes within which to accommodate 3 people. So a little more than 10 minutes to each of you. Thank you, Yasmin ji. Over to you.
Thank you so much. I trust you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are able to hear you. We are hearing you.
Can you hear me?
We are hearing you.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to take a check. All right. Good morning, everyone, and really, Dr. Thomas, good to see you again, even though um, it, um, it's that we can connect even through technology to really focus on such an important subject. So let me begin by, first of all, acknowledging our respected chair, Manisha Kayarji, our Honorable Finance Minister, Dr. Isaac, Professor Joseph of the Gulati Institute, Dr. Ilamon, who is our partner in Kila, and all the dignitaries, guests, and panel members. Really this invitation to be here. First of all, of course, I must congratulate the government of Kerala for the remarkable response that they have put in place. And of course, it's as expected. We have very high expectations of this. And your success is in your resilient institutions, in the committed leadership, and the deep-rooted democracy at the grassroots. So the model has all next couple of days, the global body as well as within which is experience or expertise that has
I'm afraid her voice is getting
breakup.
interrupted over and over again. So would the technicians please fix it? May I suggest, Yasmin, that you continue after the technicians have fixed it, and that in the meanwhile, I call the next speaker, my old friend, Dr. S.S. Meenakshi Sundaram, and while he's speaking, that,
So this is
yes,
the
come
program.
along.
Switch my camera off.
Connection.
Just
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
your voice is there, so please continue.
Hello.
Yasmin ji? Okay, I think Dr. Meenakshi Sundaram now. And we'll come back to Yasmin.
Hello. Sir, shall we then we go to Jagadananda? Madam, we will get back to you. That's what IS said. We'll get back to you because of the poor connection from your side. We'll get
She
back.
can continue with her audio.
Next would be Jagadananda then. Dr. Jagadananda, please.
Yeah, I think let me join Manishankarji for really complimenting Dr. Ishaq and the whole team in Kerala for organizing this wonderful conversation, which has begun with the right earnest. So compliments Kerala. This is a wonderful time also for reflection, for course correction. Actually, India will be different after COVID-19. The world is going to be different. So therefore, association is going to lay down some foundations for decentralized community-based management of disasters, which includes COVID in future. So it's a future, agenda-setting event actually. So let me compliment you all. What I'm going to do in my next 8 minutes or 9 minutes, I'm going to lay down 4 areas before you quickly. The Panchayat Raj system, as explained by the chair Mani Shankarji, which began with a very good earnest with a constitutional amendment. It's a constitutional body. So the local government at the village level and the state government at the assembly and the parliament at the national level, there are three constitutional bodies actually. They draw their power from the same constitution. Nobody is smaller, nobody is bigger actually. But in reality, delegated as a body where members of the legislative assembly, members of the parliament, they would like to, poke their nose to see that decisions are made in their presence or if not in their absence, but they have a greater say. So that really kills the whole power, power of decentralization. The second point I wanted to raise is exclusion. Exclusion has become the order of the day now. I'm just painting the reality on the ground. And then I have a proposal, how do we move it? If exclusion has become the order of the day, that means, the regions where I come from, the Palli Sabha, the Gram Sabha, the village assembly, which is the foundation of the Panchayati Raj system of the local government, has led to Jagda Sabha, where people for benefits or beneficiary discussion. So there is the whole National Food Security Act, the PDS beneficiaries who will be in, who will be out, the MGNREGS discussion, the conversation around Forest Rights Act are very minimal. What is happening there is, who will get the benefit, and beneficiary selection has become the order of the day. So the third part is, large number of migrants have now come back and they are now on their way actually. And we had never imagined that there will be so many migrants who will be returning home. Government of India says the number is something around 5 crores, but we believe the number is something between 10 and 11 crores across the country, which is a huge, huge number. So therefore, what is necessary is how do we redevelop our panchayat and the panchayat development plans so that these expat, migrants are accommodated in the development process in their, in their respective areas. The fourth area where I see the difference between rhetoric and the reality is the panchayats have really lost the greatest opportunity and space to develop a long-term vision, a long-term plan to address the climate change and issues like that, including the pandemic actually. So this is the backdrop. So, and if we don't recognize the reality on the ground, probably we will not be able to move forward. That is what I would like to emphasize. So what do we do now? I think Dr. Aisha very clearly mentioned, and the Honorable Minister from Kerala, also the Panchayati Raj Minister, really articulated very well what panchayats are doing in Kerala. In my state and in my region also, quarantine facilities panchayats are mandated to do, and they're running it, and some are running extremely well. They're managing the inbound migrants in transit. Some of them are doing disinfection of public space, roads, drains. They're trying to do so, ensure that social security benefits flow to the people. And that, and one of the major tasks which panchayats are doing right now is identification of the ultra poor who are left out in the NFSA process. They're not part of the PDS. So, and there are many who are coming out very, very clearly. So therefore, I think with this kind of experience from the ground, what is that we need to do? So I think in 2022, we have to think of a reimagined India actually. And in reimagined India, rural renaissance is going to be the order of India. A huge rural renaissance is going to happen. And in 2022, if I imagine, rural areas in India are in the middle of a renaissance with an expanding economic and cultural life. Skilled migrant workers choose to remain in their villages. They are more connected than ever before through digital services. Because, the demonstration is millions who are traveling on foot to come to their homeland with no money, with no food, with no water. It's a very strong, this is a repercussion of their very strong negative experiences in cities, in outside, despite the best which Kerala has done. Not many states have done that. There is high level discrimination which they have faced. They have, there is a higher, big cities where, now they have come to a conclusion that big cities and big places are unattractive for them. So they would like to come back. And if they would like to come back, in the reimagined India, I see invest in sustainable infrastructure in the rural areas, clean energy, maybe local transport, building resilience for the most vulnerable people. That is, the 94% of the workforce are informal. So how do you really bring insurance, pension schemes, formal credit at their doorstep? Now Union government has announced a plethora of programs through the banks. But where are the banks in the most difficult pockets in Odisha? I don't see them. In a district like Malkamgiri, it's impossible for a person to access anything through a bank because banking almost is non-existent there. So therefore, I visualize a long-term change in the behavior also. Conservation of energy is going to be a major thing. Circular economy is going to be a major thing actually. MGNREGA, the National Rural Livelihood Mission, they have to be redesigned, reorchestrated actually. So, if this is the case, I have a proposal. My proposal is, if decentralized community-based approach to manage disasters in general and COVID in particular have to become a reality, then local governments have to play the role of a social mobilization centers. They have to be social mobilization centers. They are not benefit distribution centers. So they have to assume a stronger role to play this role of social mobilization so that, this whole public health, the hygiene message, everything is disseminated well. The second is, in our state, we have done a village level disaster management mitigation plans. And that's it. Village level disaster mitigation plans have to be converted to panchayat level disaster mitigation plans. Panchayat level disaster mitigation plans, if that is done, the whole functionaries of the panchayats, officials involved with the panchayats, they have to be trained. Today we have a national disaster mitigation plan. We have a state disaster mitigation plan, but we do not have a panchayat disaster mitigation plan. So that is the second proposal I am putting before all of you. We have also a national disaster response force, a state disaster response force, but we do not have a community disaster response force. So community disaster response force has to be the order of the day. And they have to remain with the panchayat sector. And the fourth area is, today in our Skilling India program, at the local level, we have trained the rural folks, rural youngsters in all the skills they would need to go to the city sector. And as a result, the whole range of primary skills which are necessary to make our rural life better, rural life more interesting, more exciting, are missing in the skilling program. Of course, there are primary skills, but that has never got a priority in the skilling delivery system. So primary skill building program will become the major agenda along with a migrant database at the panchayat. So panchayats have to manage who is going in what season, where are they migrating, what is the skill they have acquired, what is the reskilling they need to stay at home. And then if they go, what time they come back. I think the migrants database will become the order of the day actually. I think with these words, let me thank all of you for this wonderful opportunity to start up a new discourse. So we have to imagine a new India. So that's what I said. We have to reimagine a new India in 2022. And a rural renaissance is in the making actually. We have to recognize it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Shri Jagannath. You've given us a new path to move on. First and foremost, you suggested a reimagined India by 2022, in which the local self-government units function as social mobilization centers rather than as at present benefit distribution centers. You have suggested a village or preferably panchayat level disaster mitigation plan. You have suggested a community uh, disaster response force within the Panchayat Raj institutions, and you've made the very innovative suggestion that where Skilling India is at present designed to provide skills that could be used in cities and urban agglomerations, we need skilling for what needs to be done locally, what you call a primary skills program. Now, that is to go back to Mahatma Gandhi's conception of self reliant villages. And that is the missing element in all that we have done for development since 1947. I think, along with Mahatma Gandhi's assassination in January 1948, there was also the assassination of his concept of villages as centers of self reliance, where what they could do for themselves they would do, and only what they could not do for themselves would be, in a sense, outsourced on the basis of comparative advantage elsewhere. And the program that you have set out, if I may say so, is a return to Mahatma Gandhi. Congratulations. That is certainly a very imaginative suggestion, set of suggestions that you've made. And now, if the technical problems have been resolved, can we get back to Dr. Yasin of the UNICEF?
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, it's fine.
Hearing
Okay,
you. Yeah,
great.
it's better now. Much better. Much better.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So I hope I'm not sure how much you heard, but I'll try to condense it because I know we're short of time. And I think in a way it's really good that Jagannatha spoke before me because I think I will be able to build on some of the concepts that he has presented. And core to this, of course, is what we learned from Kerala in terms of the spirit of volunteerism that we saw during the floods of 2018, which will build on the trust that we have seen of the community in the primary healthcare system and the belief of the state in universal healthcare. These are really crucial elements for reimagining India as we move forward. When we look at, especially, I would like to bring the dimension of children, particularly children, young people, and women. And Kerala has always been showing the light in terms of the state budget, protecting allocations for women and children, despite the challenges that they have faced, playing this vital role in bridging the trust between the health workers and communities, by setting up guidelines for the operations of local markets, ensuring the food and food livelihood security, carried out even within a crisis situation where the panchayat level planning and trust in the panchayat was not put to a side, it was not centralized in the way it can happen. And I think it's really important that we continue with this, the spirit of it, and also looking at the core essential services that women and children need, even when we're responding and when we are recovering from a crisis. Now, in many families, we are going to be affected, and a lot of the coping mechanisms, such as dropping out of school, children being diverted into labor, early marriage, increase in violence and abuse, these are things which at the local level, the panchayat have a huge role to play in detecting, addressing, and putting an end to. We have been working very closely with the Disaster Management Authority, with Udumbushri, with the Kerala Police, and we've seen how the local level initiatives really make a difference in the lives of children. Another thing to flag, of course, is as we look at returning to school in the coming months through the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, how are the COVID response plans in the schools going to be looked like? How are they going to recover? What is the role of the school management committee? Again, another local institution that is very important in the lives of children. Another lesson that we learned from the 2018 flood and really the crisis that people faced at that time is when we were able to work very closely with Kudumbashri and put in place the JPPI Accountability to Affected Population Initiative. I won't be able to pronounce the JPPI because it's a very strong Malayalam and my tongue doesn't work its way around it. But really, what was learned in that is already being used to provide psychosocial support and other support to the elderly population or the dependent population in Kerala, which is a feature of the Kerala demography, through the Ashraya scheme. And the community resource people who have been trained as part of the JPPI already have been able to reach out to communities, especially to the elderly, to get from them what are their needs. And examples like in Alaputsa district, Nafisa, who has benefited from this scheme because she was able to give the community volunteer the alert that she was running out of her medicines, and they then connected her with the health worker. Another area I'd really like to add to Sri Jagannathan's reimagined India and reimagined Kerala is that of the crucial role that young people can play in this. Because they are there with that sense of volunteerism, with their sense of wanting to come back and rebuild. So how can we harness through the local government system the energy of the young people, the energy and the commitment of the young people? And in our reimagined world, I would say that maybe there's some questions we need to ask ourselves, because we would need to project forward to make an estimation of how is this pandemic going to make a difference? What is going to look different about the gains that we have made for reducing mortality, morbidity, improving education? What is going to be looking different as we begin the recovery from this pandemic? What new threats are going to emerge for the population as a result of it? What are the policy changes? And we've heard some really good examples from Sri Jagannathan on what are the policy changes that are needed to accelerate the recovery. And also, what are the new strategies? Our lifestyle is going to have to change. We're sitting in an auditorium with masks on. How are we going to be looking at classrooms? How are we going to be looking at places where people come together, places of worship? And how long are we going to continue it? So really, it's going to take quite a prolonged way of reimagining, but putting in place strategies that people can cope with. And then always ask ourselves, what have we not thought about? What is missing? Because that will stretch us to look beyond it. So I would just want to close here and reiterate all the assertions that have been made of the key role that local self-government has to play in the response to COVID-19. And just to end by quoting our Nobel laureate, Professor Amartya Sen, who said in his emphasis on participatory local governance and public discussion during the hour of crisis, and I quote here, "Tackling a social calamity is not like fighting a war, which works best when a leader can use top-down power to order everyone to do what the leader wants, with no need for consultation. In contrast, what we need is dealing with a social calamity is a participatory governance and an alert public discussion." So I really once again appreciate the opportunity to join you all, and I wish the 2 days deliberation a lot of success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yasmin. I'm very glad that you have brought into focus, on the one hand, the necessity of linking women and child issues to the Panchayati Raj system at the lowest levels, as well as the question of population, which you touched upon with the panchayats. I can only add that both of these are covered in the illustrative list of functions of the panchayats in the 11th schedule, where women and child development, as well as family welfare, to use our favored euphemism for family planning, is incorporated. And therefore, the constitutional framework to bring your ideas into full operation does exist. It's all been, I think, translated into this conformity state legislation of most state legislatures, perhaps all. I'll have to check. But in any case, I'm sure there's a major role for all these to play. My only reservation is about the school management committees, which thus far are outside the Panchayati Raj system. The panchayats have a token representation, so do the parents. But by and large, it's a bureaucratic structure, and that is why it has not made an effective contribution to learning outcomes or to the actual physical presence of teachers in the classroom in the more backward states than Kerala, where they have a very advanced health and education system. So that I think is one of those gaps that needs to be filled. And I would hope that UNICEF can make that contribution, not only in terms of making suggestions about how the school management committees could be integrated into the Panchayat Raj system, but also about how your child feeding and nutrition programs can be more effectively brought under control of the panchayats instead of being left floating in the air. I know the Union Minister of Women and Child Development will not accept this because in my time, there was horrendous objection from that ministry to having the panchayats take any role. It was conceived as an attempt by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj to imperialistically increase its, its role in national governance. But unless and until all these are really brought down to the ground level, I'm afraid the problem that Dr. Jagannathan mentioned a few minutes ago, namely that Gram Sabhas become Jung Sabhas, and we only have discussions of who will be the beneficiaries who are included and the beneficiaries who are excluded, will continue to dominate these Gram Sabha meetings. Uh, we have nearly 8 minutes left of this session, and I'm wondering whether I could request Dr. Thomas Isaac to
Chairman,
comment on what he has heard so that we are able to sum up and what has happened in this session. Would that be
Chairman,
acceptable,
there is
or
one
Professor
question
Bose
also. Sir,
have another?
Chairman? No, I perfectly agree with you, but in between, we have 8 minutes. We have one question. There are a number of compliments coming through the chats from our friends who have logged in through YouTube. One, I think, number of compliments to all of you, all the speakers. But I thought there's only one question. How can we strengthen local governments in India? Of course, it's a $1 million question. I think Chairman might like all the speakers to reflect upon this question when they, thank you very much.
I think I'm very glad for this question because I really do think that those of us and all of us participating in this program have been in our own ways champions of the Panchayati Raj system. We need to ask ourselves the key question. Why is it that more than a generation after we've had constitutionally guaranteed Panchayati Raj, the Panchayat movement has not attained the objectives that we all thought were so self evident? It was obvious that empowered panchayat, empowered with finance functions and with functionaries, would make a huge difference to life in rural India. And yet, that hasn't happened except sporadically and in some places like Kerala, which incidentally was very poor in Panchayati Raj until Thomas Isaac fetched up on the scene. What is it that is responsible for this lack of political will? Because there is clearly a very deep lack of political will, which I saw in the UPA governments when I was a minister. I was a minister for 5 years. And there wasn't really much evidence of the government at that time wanting to be enthusiastic about Panchayati Raj. They were not objecting to it, as has happened, I'm afraid, subsequently. But there is an absence of political will in most states of India. But there is at the same time irreversible progress taking place in virtually every state, with some states like Tripura, like Rajasthan, like Haryana leapfrogging to higher positions. And there's very healthy competition between Kerala and Karnataka as to which is going to be the number one state in Panchayati Raj. So I hope that at least at a non-government level, we can reconvene the Panchayat Raj group that had been established earlier. Of course, then it had government funding, and now we'll have to do it on a more modest scale. But re-establish that group to see how we can make Panchayati Raj a matter of genuine political will on the part of those who are running the central and state governments and the different parties of India. And now over to Professor Thomas Isaac.
Um, well, um, a number of issues have been raised. The most important question was how do you make the local governments effective? We have one advantage, that is, there is a constitutional framework which mandates that local governments must be there. So, as in the past, you can't do away with it. Now, pandemic provides an opportunity because there will be a sharp difference between regions where local governments are very active and regions where they are not. And I think there is a lesson to be learned from here. Now, Mr. Jagananda raised very valid about 4 points. But I just want to inform that panchayat level mitigation plans, 3/4 the panchayats have already prepared and approved it. And now we were in the process of doing that when the pandemic struck. We hadn't thought about a health emergency, but we are thinking about the floods that might come in June, July, August. So we were in the preparation of these mitigation plans. It's not been completed, but that process is on. And there's going to be a special session in the webinar on our experience in preparation of the panchayat level mitigation plans. And also community force, very important suggestion. We have now opened up a portal where anybody can register. And now they are allotted to panchayats. Our attempt is to have one volunteer for every 100 citizens. So now all panchayats have registered volunteers who are willing to work in emergencies. Now we are thinking of having a training program for them, as like we have NCC program. Say 1 day every month, they would have training in disaster management, rescue operations, and so on. And this force at the panchayat level will be linked to the panchayat. So these are actions being done. I am certain there would be similar good practices elsewhere. So how do we go? How do you make panchayat more effective? Now bringing out these best cases. Okay, there is two ways. One, governments behave with more political will to decentralize, but governments have to be forced to have that will. The experience so far is that the slogan decentralization up to our level, not to our below, which used to be a standard joke in the early 1990s, but I think that continues even now. And therefore, bringing out the best practices on pandemic with the local governments and showing how effective local level intervention have been would strengthen this political will to decentralize. And once you assume that it's going to be 1 year period where the virus is going to be with us, and then I think there is a lot of time within the pandemic itself to learn from experience. But I find there is no other way other than to persuade, because the Constitution has given the framework, but within the framework, how much to give down is still the discretion of the those who are on the top. Therefore, there has to be political pressure brought, and we in Kerala thought this would be an opportune moment to do that. So that's all I want to comment now. After hearing everyone, perhaps at the end there is a concluding discussion where I will be participating. I'll reserve my comments for that. I think we can take
Excellent.
one more round, comments from all the participants and stop. Very quick, brief comments.
Thank you. I find that we are now 2 minutes over our time. It's very rarely that inaugural sessions don't run over. So I'm very proud that on this occasion we have been able to say everything we wanted to and still remain within the 1.5 hours allotted to us. I thank all participants and would now hand over the session to the second session, chaired by my long-standing colleague, Sri M.N. Roy of West Bengal. Thank you all for kicking off this webinar so successfully. Jai Hind.
Meenakshi is not the duty. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman, for this excellent inaugural session. Friends, we had three eminent politicians who have made their mark as trendsetters in the sphere of decentralization in the country and also at the state level. And also we had two other active persons who have been engaged in decentralized development in the country. And I think all of you agree that they have really set the trend for the deliberations in the today and day after. The essential ingredients of an empowered Panchayati Raj institutions to enable them to address the situations like pandemic conditions or people pandemic war has been fairly clearly laid down. And we have so far 54 chats from the participants, and there are a few more questions. One question is like, don't you think that education system itself is a problem in the country? This is a comment, but then I am very sure this will be coming up in the tomorrow's deliberation. How can we have banks in every panchayat? Dr. Nandakumar is asking. And Maimosa Minus and Abhinav Sharma, what can be the role of district planning committees? So I am very sure these questions will be answered in these deliberations in the afternoon and tomorrow. Please keep watching, and we will get back to you. I must take this occasion to thank all the participants, and we'll get back to you after 15 minutes. And this session is all are ready.
No, sir.
Okay, then over to we have.
Sir, we are waiting for Saroj Dash sir to log in.
Are you waiting?
Yeah, yeah, Saroj Dash.
Are you waiting for someone?
Yeah, yeah, yes, sir. Saroj sir has to be in.
We are waiting for someone. Do you want me? Can we start now or we'll wait?
Yeah, we can start now, sir.
We can start when whole
Roy sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Roy sir.
Shall we start?
Sir, just waiting for Saroj Dash sir to join.
Okay.
Others
Shall
are-
I call him?
Yeah, Shaiju is in contact. Shaiju is contacting him, sir.
Okay. Okay. He talked with me a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Mr. Das has joined.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Joseph sir, all the parents have joined. Rohit sir, can you hear us?
Hello, I can hear you.
Hello. 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 Dr. Manroy, could you please now?
See you. I can see you.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome, sir, and over to you. Please take over the session and moderate it. Thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, good morning, everyone. And let me first congratulate the government of Kerala and thank them for inviting me and my colleagues here. This is a very, very timely webinar and on a very excellent topic. Let me thank Dr. Thomas Isaac, Dr. Joy Lemon, and Professor Joseph for organizing all these things. Let me also welcome the speakers of this session. This is on local government and the pandemic experience of East and Northeastern states. So we have 4 speakers in this session. Mr. Saroj Das, and who was Joint Director of SID Odisha and worked in NIRD, Kapat, and also UNDP. And Professor Girishan from Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development. Then you have Mr. Bishal Mukesh, the Director HIRD of Sikkim, who has a good experience of working in Sikkim. And of course, our good old friend, Dr. Balan, who was Director Kila for a long time. So welcome all my colleagues here. So let us first decide that all the speakers will be speaking for 10 minutes each, roughly. Then I'll follow it. I will try to summarize and bring the issues which the local government should bring in. One particular point that I think they should mention right at the beginning, this is a seminar on local government. We have been speaking mostly on panchayats. But if we have some kind of municipal, urban local government also, because one clear problem that is there, the pandemic is more in urban areas. Rural areas tend to feel the
Rohit sir, please continue with your audio. There is some problem with your connectivity, so please continue with your audio.
Hello.
Sir,
Am I
please.
audible? Here
Yeah.
is Saroj Das.
Rohit sir is audible. Please continue.
Yeah. Should I continue, sir? Should I continue?
Sure, sir.
Sir,
Sure, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody.
Mani Shankar Iyer.
Sir.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Rohit sir is audible. Please continue.
Please go ahead.
Therefore, now the 40th anniversary of our having met in Pakistan. And thank you for these wonderful 40 years. Very well, sir. I've taken.
Srija, what is happening?
Yeah. Can you start?
Should I? Yeah. Yes. Good morning, sir, and my congratulations to the Kila as well as the gift for doing this timely seminar, especially when the entire country is fighting against the pandemic COVID-19. And I'm really honored to speak for the state government experience, especially the experience of the local government in Odisha in fighting the pandemic COVID-19. Sir, as you rightly told in the early morning inaugural session, the panchayat is the lifeline of the rural Odisha. Panchayat is the face of the rural Odisha, and especially in our state, we have 6,798 gram panchayat with 314 blocks and 30 Jilla Parishad. And we have also more than 1,08,000 elected PRI members and 40,000 officials at the grassroots level working for the rural Odisha. And that is how the Panchayati Raj department in Odisha is in a very center stage in managing the COVID-19, sir. And Odisha, as you rightly know, we started our preparation long back with the clarion call by our Honorable Chief Minister, Mr. Naveen Patnaik, Honorable Chief Minister, Mr. Naveen Patnaik, to join the this fight. And Odisha, hopefully, we are one of the pioneer state in amending. The most important, we amended the National Disaster Management Act, that is the Section 20H, wherein the panchayat have been given an authority, or the panchayat has been declared as the body to fight against the COVID-19. This amendment has given really a enormous power to the panchayat to fight against the COVID-19. So, and I'm happy that our Honorable Chief Minister made a oath to all the 6,798 Gram Panchayat Sarpanches to fight against this COVID-19. And you'll be also happy to know that all the Sarpanches have been declared as the frontline Corona warriors by insuring them with 50 lakhs rupees for their life insurance, so that they really become the fighter on the warrior in the, at the center stage at the village level. Sir, here I have something to submit, that the Odisha has around 7 to 8 lakhs of migrant stranded Odia who have been in other states, including to 5 to 6 lakh of migrant labor who have been staying in other states. They intend to come to Odisha. We say that is returning Odia people. And by virtue of this amendment of National Disaster Management Act, rightly done by the state government, Section 22H, the panchayat has been given the special power. And that power is like that the mandatory registration of all the GP or mandatory registration in the COVID portal to GP level returning. So that we have the right database for contact tracing and everything. Sir, and moreover, in Odisha, the panchayat has been given power to give the free food to all the needy, indigent and poor people. And you will be surprised to know that we have already given. We have fed people to the tune of 3,21,000 from the March 29th onwards. Similarly, the panchayat have been given enormous power to set up the temporary medical camps, which is known as a quarantine shelter, especially in the schools, colleges, hostels, which are little outside the village, and also outskirts of the habitation. So that way we have set up more than 7,000 shelter center, quarantine center where
Could you additional devices? Could you please switch off the devices there?
Yeah, sorry.
We are using two devices. Are you switched off YouTube password? Whether your YouTube is working?
I'm sorry, I'm not able to get you.
We are having voice. Maybe because of your YouTube is check it, please.
Yeah.
Please continue.
So interestingly, we have arranged more than 5 lakhs bed in the temporary medical camps, standard operating procedures regarding their management of food, registration, personal hygiene kit, sanitation, drinking water, watch and ward duty, all have been given to the panchayat. And interestingly, we have also issued frequently asked questions.
Sorry, Mr. Saraj, sorry, we have to interrupt you because you are not clearly audible. Please excuse us. You are not clearly audible. So we are requesting you to hold on. And I would like to please 5 minutes will get some problem. We will request Girish.
Okay.
And also check side what is happening. Thank you very much. Inconvenience. And may I request Mr. K. Girish, Rajiv Gandhi National Development.
Good morning, and respected chair and my co-presenters. To start with a minor request to the chair. Expected to share the experience of two states. I may be given an additional time of at least 2 to 3 minutes. So that,
Okay, please.
I got to justice to my responsibility. To begin with, I will share the experience from Assam. Because I understand there are presentations from northeastern states out are being made here, and that makes a good sample from the northeastern region. And Assam probably the largest among the northeastern states in terms of area and population, and also more diversity than all other seven states. Holds a special position. Hence, I would like to start my presentation with Assam. I am planning to present the experience of one of the Gram Panchayats in a district quite away from the state capital or state headquarters, and that is from Shivsagar district. And here I'll be presenting the experiences of Salaguriya Gram Panchayat from Gauri Sagar block of Shivsagar district of Assam. Let me straight come some of the major activities. In fact, I will be highlighting primarily about the activities carried out by the Panchayat, something like a case study. And then probably towards the end, I will highlight some of the things from the state initiatives, the facilitation done by the state government. And to start with, awareness generation among the population. I think there was a continuous announcement through mic was carried out to generate awareness among the people. In addition to that, house-to-house visits by the headman of the village, the Gram Panchayat members, Asha workers, ANM staff, Anganwadi workers, multi-purpose workers, guys like the community midwives, etc. They were constantly engaged with the community in spreading the health and sanitation messages. And the spread of message that prevention is better than cure, as no medicine has been so far identified, or you can say invented, for the COVID Mahamari. And of course, there was a strong message that there is no need to panicky, but need to keep safe and secure, was by applying social distancing or social fencing and by taking other precautions. It was one of the major highlights of this awareness generation. And everyone was asked to remain at home and not to venture out for anything. And of course, the significance of social distancing or social fencing was highlighted at every point of time. And there is 100% enforcement of masks by all whenever they have to come out of their home. In addition to the state helpline, I think each district has developed a COVID-19 helpline specifically, and the same was provided to every house. In addition, the contact number of all key functionaries in the village was provided to every home so that they need not come out of their home at all for any means. And they are instructed to contact any of the key functionaries like the headman or the panchayat member or the ASHA worker or the ANM or anyone, multi-purpose worker from the area, even for buying food or grain, vegetables, medicine, or any other purpose. So nobody was asked to come out of their home. And it was repeatedly conveyed to the community that they will not come out of their home for any purpose till they get the further instructions. And the second major initiative carried out by the Panchayat was mobilization of voluntary services and donations. And of course, it was the own initiative of the Panchayat. As in the past, during the flood situations, I think because we all know Assam used to come across almost a perennial flood every year. As in the past, the Gram Panchayat took it up as an important function to mobilize in cash or kind or service from the salaried classes, rich, upper middle classes, shopkeepers, big farmers, etc., to help the poor and families in distress owing to poverty, loss of job, etc. And of course, they are able to collect a lot of donations in terms of rice, atta, dal, mustard oil, salt, soap, and all household items in large quantity, and they have been stored in the Panchayat office itself. And there was a continuous provision of the existing welfare programs by the government, in addition to the extra work owing to the management of COVID. But the ongoing programs by the both central and state governments did not put to a full stop, like PM Kisan Yojana and the Janadhan Yojana and the Ujjwala Yojana and the medical assistance scheme of the state government, like with n number of schemes. Those who were already on operation, they were asked to continue. Of course, the people need not feel panicky, and they were not worried even a bit. And another important highlight was promotion of a large-scale mass preparation by the SHGs in the area. Selected SHGs were encouraged to prepare triple-layered masks, and it was at a very low cost of around 30 rupees in the Shivsagar district alone. And for each mask prepared by the SHG, they were paid about 30 rupees. Of course, this was not a standard figure throughout the state. Depends upon it. It ranges from 20 to 35 rupees across the state. And of course, this support was provided under the Assam State Rural Livelihood Mission to the SHGs. By effectively linkage of ASL, Assam State Rural Livelihood Mission, this activity was carried out. And of course, we all know the uniqueness of Gamosa in Assam. And the improvisation of Gamosa, the traditional cotton towel of Assam, into the triple-layered mask was successfully attempted. And of course, even the kind of material which used to be in the sanitary napkins, which was improvised in preparing a three-layered mask by the three-layered mask by the SHGs. And this gave tremendous opportunities to the weavers as well as the SHG members. And SHGs have acquired the skill of preparing high-quality masks, something very close to N95 quality at reasonable prices at any number of as per the demand. Now the Gram Panchayat, I'm talking about the specific Gram Panchayat, is in a position to export any number of masks at reasonable price to any other part of the state and the country. I'm sure this has been a situation with many other Gram Panchayats in the state. And the next is the distribution of National Food Security money, NFS money, to the non-card holders. Gram Panchayat took it up as a top priority to identify those families not possessing NFS cards among the local population. And continuous efforts were made by the Gram Panchayat members and other authorities to provide an amount of 1,000 rupees per family, those who are not possessing a card in a month. And the next major highlight is an effective coordination with the community-based organizations, political parties, institutions, and other key individuals. Continuous efforts were made to encourage the community-based organizations to support the Gram Panchayat in identifying the needy persons and delivery of goods and services to the population. And continuous involvement of political parties and their affiliated organizations also played a key role. Voluntary involvement and active participation of organizations like Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh and church-based organizations in the COVID management is definitely noteworthy. However, they were mostly performing on their own. But the Panchayat conveyed to them that the support services will be channelized only through the Gram Panchayat, and they will not deliver any services to the people directly, because they were asked to identify and support the Panchayat in whatever measure they could possible. Of course, I have my own doubts how far it was implemented in letter and spirit. And one of the most significant initiatives at the Gram Panchayat level is the voluntary support extended to a minimum of 5 families in each village by the salaried class. In fact, this was done based on an appeal by the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam, Sri Sarvanand Sonowal. I think probably this is one of the unique highlight of the state of Assam. In every village, and specifically in this village itself, many salaried persons have identified the needy families with the help of Gram Panchayat members and extended support to them since the lockdown announcement. And some of them have even started reaching up to 10 to 12 families. Though the Chief Minister highlighted a minimum of 5 families, Some of them even cross double of that figure. And this is something like a silent revolution initiated in the state of Assam by killing the spirit and willingness for voluntary service and community support as a social responsibility towards the needy taxpayers when they are in a state of distress. I think this point need to be highlighted very effectively. And the next important highlight is supporting initiatives by the government of Assam to the panchayats. State government issues early instructions in the middle of March itself to provide 1,000 rupees to those families they are not in possession of NFS card like Anna Suraksha card. And the decision for free distribution of essential household items to every household was made by the state government in the middle of March itself. The kit included rice, atta, dal, mustard oil, salt, and other items. And the first time the distribution of items was made under the NFS with the support of central government. But in the second time, so far 2 times it was given. The second time the distribution of essential items was made with the support of the state government. And in between, the Gram Panchayat took every step to see that nobody should stay with food and carried out all necessary steps to chip in whenever necessary. This was very much possible with the inputs from the CBOs and some, you can say, individuals. And laborers in the unorganized sectors were provided financial assistance to the tune of 2,000 rupees per month as an emergency assistance. And Assam being one of the largest state with a lot of migrants, and Assam had to take some special steps to address the issues of migrants. Some special initiatives were made towards the migrants. And state government of Assam has activated and coordinated Assam Bhavans in all major cities. I think they were already in existence, but this COVID became an opportunity for them to revitalize the Assam Bhavans. For example, in Chennai, Delhi, Calcutta, Mumbai, and many other state capitals, they are functioning. These Assam Bhavans were instructed to provide all necessary guidance, assistance, and support to the migrants from the respective state in an effective manner. The migrants who wanted to return from the state to Assam, they were assisted by these Assam Bhavans, and the number came to be around 6 lakh. During the last 2 weeks, around 6 lakh people, they came back to Assam. Those were migrants in other states. And this was done without any big fanfare and drum beating. For example, the Assam Bhavan of Chennai itself was in a position to support nearly 1.5 lakhs migrants from the state of Assam. I think we have seen the news which came in the TV, because only from Delhi they have arranged number of buses, the Assam government, to ferry the people from Delhi towards Assam. And the state government extended support to the Assamese population stranded in different parts of the country and even outside the country through these Assam Bhavans and other mechanisms in coordination with the union government. And migrants were supported by providing free tickets and food packages by the state government to ensure their safe return journey. A number of buses were arranged by the state government, and the complete cost was borne by the state government of Assam. Just during the last 2 weeks, about 6 lakh people returned to Assam. And the state government has already started preparing specific programs and activities to ensure their effective rehabilitation. And they will be encouraged to stay back in Assam itself and work further on diverse sectors. And the state government of Assam has extended support to the tune of 25,000 to the patients with cancer, heart diseases, and other terminal ill cases who were stranded in other parts of the country. And this was not something new. This was already an ongoing program. But especially from the areas like Vellore and Calcutta, there were a lot of people who were stranded. So state government took special care to the Assam Bhavans to ensure their safe return to the state. And the government has also assured financial assistance of $10,000 to each needy migrant from different foreign countries. And it was identified around 2,200 people were in need of support from different countries. Their number have come to nearly 2,200, and everyone was assured of $10,000 each for their safe and secure return to the state. And provision of special medical insurance to the tune of nearly 50 lakhs was made to the ASHA workers, multi-purpose workers, those who are working in the health sector, and the police and the journalists who are engaged in these COVID-19 activities. And the total expenses towards the treatment of COVID-19 patients, like medical services, the food, lodging, everything was borne by the state government of Assam. And the CM's emergency relief fund was able to receive about 110 crore till date, which was one of the important steps. And when it comes to the COVID management by the government, by the Gram Panchayat of Assam, with the support of state government and CBOs, I think I have something to add to why there could be a better or relative efficiency in these effects. Probably the previous experience of the community or the Gram Panchayat leadership and other organizations in handling natural disasters such as floods, which is a very perennial in Assam, has come in handy to have an effective management of the situation in a very cool, calm, composed, and collective, and of course, in a professional manner. And the COVID-19 pandemic was never treated just as a medical emergency alone in the state. And the management was looked after like a disaster management, similar to the perennial floods in many parts of the state, which happens every year after year in a very cool and calm manner. And the government extended all necessary support, including provision of guidance and assistance and other measures with hardly any directive to them to do this and to do that, and to the local governments. And it was in a great way left to them to take an appropriate decision at that time. And of course, they have done all steps to remind them about their social responsibility to alleviate the miseries of their local community. By understanding the good works done by the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam, I think the Prime Minister even went to the extent of publicly acknowledging that Sarva ka sukh dene wala hai Sarvanand. Sarva ka sukh dene wala hai Sarvanand. I think this was the comment made by the Prime Minister of India. The name of the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam is Sarvanand Sonowal. I think it's quite apt to the kind of work he has done in the COVID management by facilitating and supporting the local governments in the state to tide over this pandemic situation. Now I'll just switch over to the presentation from Manipur. Here also again, I would like to put forward the experience of a village panchayat in Manipur. It's a case study of a Keno Gram Panchayat of Bishnupur district of Manipur. The local governments in the state of Manipur, along with the CBOs, have been playing a significant role in the COVID management. And especially the local governments in Manipur have been doing like cordoning the village to regulate the movement of people from going out and coming in, awareness generation among the village community to using house-to-house visits and other campaigns, and emphasis on the importance of social distancing or social fencing among the community. And strict instructions were given not to venture out of their home at any cost, and identifying the needy families who are in distress, mobilizing support from the possible sources in the locality itself to extend assistance and support, like provision of rice, oil, salt, vegetables in those areas to those in people in distance. And the local governments in the hilly regions took special care to get vegetables for the needy people in their area, because the hilly areas do not grow much vegetables. And the youth organizations in the plains, like the lot of organizations, they took special care in supporting along with the local government in the plain areas to support the local governments in the hilly regions. And the local governments, with the help of youth organizations and women organizations, we all know the organizations like Mera 5B in Manipur, they have supplied essential commodities like disinfectant products, masks, hand wash, hand sanitizer, etc., both in the plain and hilly areas. And identifying the patients by active support of the health department in testing, tracing, and treatment was operationalized by the local governments in Manipur. And of course, creation of separate facilities for isolation as well as quarantine. And as far as possible, for quarantine was done in the locality itself. Earmarked specific facilities for quarantine of people and provision of all necessary support for running of isolation centers and quarantine centers and others. And coming to a little add about the role of CBOs, along with the local governments, the community organizations in the state like Maya Peri, the Women's Collective, youth organizations perform a significant contribution in the overall activities. Significantly, the women in the state of Manipur are much more active and powerful than the men since time immemorial. I think we have seen that. In awareness generation and practice of social distancing, women organizations are playing an active role. And youth organizations in Manipur get themselves engaged in working with the local governments to identify the poor and needy persons, plus community support, create fencing and blockage in the villages to regulate the traffic, and ensure quarantine to the family members and contacts of the COVID-infected patients. The CBOs, youth organizations were extending active support to the local government to tackle the pandemic. And the organizations organized number of series of awareness campaigns and its serious consequences through publicity and face-to-face meetings. And they went to the hilly areas in the villages and the neighboring villages to generate awareness. And the COVID management by the Gram Panchayat with the support of state government also was done with a relative efficiency, because the state government has initiated a go-to-village mission.
Professor Gulati, can you now come down on it?
I'll just take only 2 minutes, sir. 2 minutes. Because the Honorable Chief Minister of Manipur has initiated a new initiative called Go to Village Mission, and which just happened about a few months back. And this was very effective in strengthening the local governments and to create a good image to the local governments among the village population, the Go to Village Mission. And in collaboration with the Panchayat, the youth organizations, women organizations have played a stupendous work during the COVID management. And to conclude, as a student of political science and public administration, I cannot conclude my presentation here without mentioning certain unique dimensions of the community as well as the leadership. And there is a strong mutual trust, reciprocity, faith, cooperation, and social capital noted in the northeastern states, which I can vouch based on my experiences in working with different northeastern states during the last more than 1 decade. And despite the absence of devolution of three Fs, the local governments in most of the northeastern states have been performing as genuine people's organizations in letter and spirits. And also we could see the dynamism, vibrancy, and commitment of number of CBOs in these states, especially youth organizations and women organizations, in addition to religious and faith-based organizations. And the active leadership and coordination and involvement in the development and welfare programs in the locality by the student wing and youth wing of political parties in these states, especially in Assam and Manipur, is also a special mention. And towards the end, the understanding, connect, focus, commitment, willpower manifested by the leadership in Assam and Manipur is very much significant. I'm sure most of you are aware that the present Chief Minister of Assam, Sri Sarvanand Sonowal, came through all Assam Student Union at the height of Assam issues. His grassroots level understanding, sincerity, simplicity, and strong linkage with the grassroots leadership has been quite effective in handling the COVID-19 situation. And as in addition to that expertise of the political leadership at different spheres, the bureaucracy as well as civil society, they were worked hand in hand together in which they had in perennial issues. So I'll take only 30 seconds. In effectively handling the pandemic situation in a cool, calm, composed, and collective manner. And the background of the Honorable Chief Minister of Manipur is also very, very different, because he has been serving in a border security force as a disciplined soldier, and then he performed as a journalist, and he has been able to utilize the unique features in the previous assignments into the present responsibility. And incidentally, both these leaders carry on their functions and responsibilities in a very silent manner, with their ears to the ground, to enable them to get the pulse from the field without any delay and act swiftly. I think I wish to end my presentations with a simple suggestion. I think it is high time we start thinking of reaffirming the cooperative federalism in reality. And there is a need to have more state-to-state linkages, with each state setting up offices in other states like Assam Bhavan. And thank you all for the patient hearing.
Thank you very much, Professor Girishan, for your giving glimpses of Assam and Manipur. And now, can we request Professor Mr. Saroj Das to complete the balance part of his deliberations?
Sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. The question is here that for building the capacity of Panchayati Raj institution, especially the sarpanches, we had video conference of all the sarpanches, and for managing the COVID-19, one of the Panchayat executive officer has been declared as the GP level nodal officer. We did the capacity building through video conferencing of around 20,000 people over 3 days, in making them, appreciating them, their role and responsibility, especially during the management of COVID-19, and to be more specific on temporary management, temporary medical camps. And you'll be happy to know that, sir, in Odisha, many of the sarpanches, by virtue of the special power of collector given to them by the State Disaster Management Authority by amending the act, they have even gone to the extent of imposing curfew or the shutdown in their panchayat to facilitate returning of the Odia people to the COVID-19 temporary medical camps. And panchayat, especially sarpanches, in strong collaboration with the self-help group, women self-help group, to the tune of around 8,000 self-help group, they have been managing these centers with the help of 10 numbers of one team who are dedicatedly working for managing of the temporary medical center. Besides that, sir, in Odisha, Gram Panchayats have been in the system, have been in the front line by distributing the 3 months PDS to the all NFSA card holder. Even our government went to the extent of extending this to the non-NFSAs of the state Food Security Act, those who have been deprived from the National Food Security Act list. So what I just tried to make a point, in Odisha, especially the strong local government in collaboration with the frontline workers like ASA worker, Anganwadi workers, then Gram Rozgar Sevak, then Panchayat Executive Officer, and more interestingly, since the quarantine centers were set up at the village level, the respective two school teachers were involved in managing the quarantine center. So you will be happy to know that as on date, we have put up around 1,35,000 people in the quarantine center, and we have the whatever the positive cases are being reported in Odisha, they are from the quarantine center, and that too they are immediately traced out and taken to the COVID hospitals. And to share you with that, for sarpanches, all the sarpanches along with the ward members and women self and front workers, they are really doing some yeoman job for managing the COVID-19. And to be very specific, during this women SSG members, we have given a personal hygiene kit to each inmate of the quarantine center or temporary medical camps, wherein the women SSGs are associated in managing the day-to-day routine works of the and at the temporary management medical camps. And besides that also, we have issued 10 personal protection equipment to the people who are giving the services at the medical centers, and all these activities are done under the direct leadership and guidance of the sarpanches, ably supported with the 10 number of people at the frontline workers at the field level. And to add more to it, that in Odisha, we have had the flexibility with the MGNREGA as well as the DNRLM, so that the Sarpanch, being the program officer, is able to facilitate livelihood, some alternative livelihood alternative to the returnee people, to the poor people, and so that they are engaged in individual benefit schemes, and accordingly the activities identified, permissible activities have been made flexible, and so that we have around 8 lakhs people reporting as job seekers to the our MGNRJ work. And and I'll just share with you some of the special powers which have been empowered, have been given to the sarpanches. That is the mandatory registration facility as the GP level to facilitate the return of the people, family members, and the relatives of the such people, and also students who have been stranded, even the pilgrims who have been stranded outside the state, and also necessary arrangement like camp management, sanitation, food, healthcare, safety, security, and also, but more importantly, three things which has been really adhered here in Odisha, that three sacred principles, that the privacy of the inmates, similarly the dignity and respect to the inmates, as well as the safety of the inmates are being given utmost importance at the temporary medical camps managed by the panchayat, so that all the inmates feel that they are at home and a human touch is given to them. And moreover, the love, affection, empathy on the part of sarpanches which they have exhibited during this pandemic is something noteworthy, sir. And they are really supported by there is no Panchayati Raj or drinking water department at the village level, at the GP level, at the block level. There is one department that it is the fighting the COVID-19. One department, it is COVID-19 managing department. The panchayats are able to utilize the services of the official grassroots officials, those who are not even in the payroll of the panchayat, that is by virtue of the government order. So in as on date, because of such community management system and leadership exhibited by the local government, I hope we have able to manage the COVID-19 to better way, and our casualty, our report as on date, in spite of almost 3 lakhs, 2 lakhs people already returned to the state, including urban and rural. We have 737 cases of positive cases, 3 casualty, and our recovery rate is very, I mean, encouraging. We have recovered rate to the extent of 35%. So the panchayat are really playing the face of the government. They are really now become the frontline warriors against the corona. So with this, I hope I'll stop here. And whenever further questions or anything is there, I'll be back to you, sir, and back to the panel, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dash, for giving a very illuminating thing of Odisha, that amendment of the act, which is very unique and it's given panchayats a very power which they didn't have earlier. So this is something, maybe a beginning of a bigger decentralization in Odisha. Most likely, we wish to see that it becomes the beginning of that panchayats are given more power in this context. In fact, for some cases, I'll come later, this is a big case of threat, but it is also an opportunity to rework many things. So we'll be focusing on that. Now I request Mr. Mukhia, the Director SIRD of Sikkim, to please present the case of Sikkim. Sikkim, I am sure there is no case so far, but you have taken a lot of preparatory steps. Please share your experience, Mr. Mukhia.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Vishal Mukhia and PR, Government of Sikkim. First of all, I'd like to express my gratefulness to Honorable Minister of Finance, Kerala, for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this webinar. I also would like to extend my thankfulness to Gulati Institute of Finance and Taxation, and also the KILA, for giving me this opportunity. With the declaration of coronavirus as a pandemic by the WHO, all the countries of the world became alert and started its take the measures. India started sensitizing its people on COVID-19, and Sikkim, being one of the small states, we also started on taking the awareness activities, sensitizing our people. As 70% of the state is under rural population, the role of panchayat became prime to combat the COVID-19. The panchayat played an important role in sensitizing our general public on the spread of coronavirus, and they were also asked to identify the residents of the areas who basically from outside, and they were reporting to the authority. Gram Panchayat were also involved in making the list of the stranded laborers in the Gram Panchayat and accordingly submit to the authority for making the provision of appropriate relief materials. The preparation of list was also done by the Gram Panchayat, where the students or the people from the other state wanted to return to their respective state. Gram Panchayat were also asked to coordinate with the district task force committee under the district of the district. Agricultural produce of the Gram Panchayat of the area jurisdiction were taken to the market, and even during the lockdown period, the special passes were taken out by the Gram Panchayat, and the agricultural produce were taken to the market so that the farmers did not suffer. Panchayats were also actively supporting the ASHA workers who are there as a frontliner in the village. Panchayats were also sensitized to monitor the various activities of the unit. The Gram Panchayats were actively involved in distribution of relief materials to the needy people in coordination with the BDOs and other government staff. The Gram Panchayat also used their own funds to purchase masks, sanitizers, hand wash, and distributed to, again, the people who are in need. The Gram Panchayat also ensured that the people of the respective jurisdiction install the Arogya Setu app and also uses it. They were monitoring whenever they come across to the people. Especially after April 20th, since certain relaxation was given, the MGNREGS work started resuming under the leadership of Panchayat. So these were the few steps which have been taken along with other state government and central government protocols. Out of the 5 major checkposts in the state, the 3 checkposts were sealed and only 2 were allowed, which is at Malli and Nangpo. That is also for basically for the essential to apply the essential items like medicines and food supplies. Other than that, all the remaining border GPUs which are there. The Gram Panchayats were asked to check the thoroughfare, especially in the riverine area. SIRD and PR being one of the premier institute on capacity building helped the Gram Panchayat as well as the field facilitators of the institute to help the panchayat and handle the panchayat on various protocols of the health department. SIRD and PR Sikkim has been also identified as the quarantine center in the district administration. This quarantine center has been running from almost like March 2nd of this year, and so far Sikkim has given almost like 3 to 4 months has been completed. So almost like 40 people have completed their 14 days quarantine in SIRD and PR Sikkim, and they are now in the home quarantine. So we as SIRD and the Panchayat, we coordinate even for maintaining the quarantine center in the state. So far, by the grace of God, it is COVID-free. So we hope and pray that our role of the Gram Panchayat will be more active in the field, and will be able to overcome this problem of COVID-19 in Sikkim. On the issue of IEC, Information, Education and Communication, SIRD and PR Sikkim created one full music video along with the everything has been done in SIRD, and the music video has been created, and this has been shared with all the Gram Panchayats. More than 1.5 lakhs viewers were there in this. So the awareness, the song talks about the do's and don'ts of on COVID-19. Similarly, like that, there were two more animation which has been created by SIRD. One is basically on the introduction of coronavirus and the issues related to it. One is on the quarantine center, basically the facilities been provided by the government, and also most the objection which is raised by some of the public around. So basically to clear those doubts, SIRD Sikkim created the two animations which are now in circulation at the panchayat levels. So this has also benefited a panchayat a lot. Whenever there is a query, there is some kind of a doubt, they refer to these videos and accordingly they act. Sikkim being presently an only state with COVID-19, the credit goes to the present government headed by Honorable Chief Minister, and also the other departments which has helped Sikkim be COVID-free. Along with that, disciplined people of Sikkim also played a vital role while they followed all the rules and regulations issued by the state government as well as the central government. So far we are safe. I hope that together we will be able to overcome all these challenges, and hope that this COVID-19 ends fast and we will resume our normal livelihood soon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukhia. So now I request Dr. Balan to make his presentation for 10-12 minutes. Dr. Balan, can you?
Thank you.
Balan, yeah, okay, Dr. Balan, please.
Thank you. Mr. Meenakshi Sundaram.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes. Chairman of the session, Mr. Meenakshi Sundaram, and paper person, panelists, Mr. Saroj Damas and Mr. Mukhya, dear participants and friends. The subject is the functioning of the panchayats or the local governments in the northeastern and eastern states of India. And when coming to this point, after hearing this presentation, I have some observations and some comments to make. Now we have to see the situation of the northeastern region. It's a tribal people are dominating most of the most of the states, and only in the plain, in the Brahmaputra region, in Imphal, in Howrah, bearing such other places, the tribes are in the hill tract and all the regions, and only in the plains we can see non-tribal people. And why the number of corona patients are less in this region? It's only 0.26. And I have to make some comments on that. The density of the population in the northeastern region is very less. There are 8 states, and the density of the population is very less. And national wise, it is only 4% of the population. And another important point is a self-imposed restriction is there on the people. A protocol. A proper protocol. Sorry. The entry of outsiders. And the people are not having that much travel history. It is very less. People are not that much going outside or
sound
travel history of the people. So environmental factors are also there. Any problem? Can I go ahead? Can I go ahead?
Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead, Dr. Balan.
Yes. The reason why the corona patients are less in this northeastern region. Number one, it is because of the low density of the population. Second one, we can see this less travel history among the people. And the existing traditional system is there. The protocol is restricted them from entering the villages. So the leaders of the village panchayat, or they are not allowing people to come in and also to go out. So this traditional system of or self-imposed regulations is the another reason why this that much of spread is not there. Now, and also some precautionary activities have been undertaken by the people, by the panchayats in a wide manner. So because of all these, the number of corona patients are less in the northeastern states. And when we say about the local governance system, we can see different types of local governance. One is the village councils are there, then comes the panchayats, then the municipalities are also there, autonomous district councils are there. And apart from that, we can see some supporting systems. And these supporting systems means all the panchayats have constituted LLTF, local level task forces. And also CBOs and NGOs are also supporting the panchayats. And ethnic groups are also supporting. So there are 220 ethnic groups. They may be warring each other, but at this time they were joining hand in hand to help the panchayats in the fight against the COVID. And also student associations are also there, which is supporting the panchayat. In Mizoram, Young Milo Association, all such groups are supporting the panchayat to fight against the dangerous situation. Now coming to some important aspects, that is, I have to mention 3I. In English letter I, is guiding the panchayat in this region. Number one is intuition. Intuition means that it's an inner call. Among the panchayat, there is an inner call. And without any direction, danger situation before them. Panchayats are not waiting for any direction from the above, any communication or any circular, any guidance, nothing. Without that, by intuition they are acting. And second is invert. Invert, what I mean is that without following the proper order in a perverted form. So usually the system is there, panchayats or local governments are following a system. Without following that system, seeing the immediate necessity in a invert form, they are acting. And the third I is immediate. There is immediate action. Without waiting for anybody, if something is happening, there is interference from the panchayat side. There is an immediate and quick and swift manner. And also the activities of the panchayats. We have to see what are the activities that has been carried out. And the two panelists were making some observation about the activities. And one thing is that we can classify that activities into three C's I can make. One is containment, and the second one is compassion, and third one is course action. So containment, that is related to the medical activities. So massive awareness program was conducted, and also quarantine centers were arranged, and isolation camps were set up, and all such medical allied activities were done by the panchayat with the support of the health workers. Is to contain the spread of this disease. And second one is compassion and care. Means serving the food for the needy people. A lot of poor people are starving, and panchayats came forward, and some of them started this community kitchen, and they served food, vegetables, and essential goods. So all this happened because of the attitude of the panchayat to help the poor and the needy. And I can say that in Mizoram, nutrition food was also given to the poor people, nutrition foods. So in such examples are coming in large numbers. And the third C, that is course action, that is very important. So all the panchayats are now preparing the GPDP annual plan. One advisory that has been given by the central Ministry of Panchayat Raj, that is to have changes in the plan they have already prepared. That is for seeing the dangerous situation, for making more focus on economic activities. Panchayats are allowed to change the plan they have already prepared. So in that way, a lot of activities are coming in the form of different projects and also the annual plan and long-term plan also. So, for example, Jharkhand plan is containing mainly on organic farming and giving support to self-help groups and integrating the plans relating to the CBOs and NGOs. So in that way, a lot of changes are taking place in the plan prepared by the panchayats and municipalities and other organizations. And coming to Orissa, as mentioned already by Mr. Saroj Das, it's a welcome change. This is a delegation, a good delegation has taken place. Delegation of power from the district collector to the Sarpanch. The Sarpanch is now having the power to act in case of emergency. So we can see a devolution, a delegation of power from the district collector to the Sarpanch. Nowhere in India we cannot see such a delegation that has taken place in a short span of days. So this is really a model. And what Orissa has done, they have complete data of the migrant laborers who are coming from outside, and all the facilities were made by them. So the data is another important aspect. So how many people are coming? 7 lakhs and a half are coming from the other states to Orissa, and they were all will be settled by. They are coming now, and most of them will be already been settled, and this is because of the support given by the panchayat. So panchayat is playing a major role in finding out the quarantine centers, isolation camps, and allied activities. And this delegation is an important thing to be taken into account. And a few takeaways are there. What the panchayats have done. Now we can see a new work culture is emerging. A new work culture. Disregarding the white collar jobs, people are opting for manual work. Not for money, but for material, something to be made. Vegetable cultivation is in full swing. And people are opting for that. That is why I am saying there is a new work culture is emerging. And people have full faith in panchayats, the confidence of the panchayat. Confidence in the panchayat.
2 more minutes.
Yes, I will complete with only 3 points. And then we can see the officials, the police, the revenue, the labor, health officials, all joining hands at the grassroots level. So there is a team building. A team building has taken place at the grassroots. The NGOs and CBOs going beyond their assigned work. And the English spirit of voluntarism that is emerging. And extra resource mobilization. So these are all some of the important takeaways of the activities of the panchayat within these 40-50 days. So I don't want to, because of the time constraints, I don't want to elaborate. And once again, I thank everybody, especially and Gift, for having me a chance to attend this important program.
Thank you, Dr. Balan. Now, before I summarize the deliberation of the session, let me reflect some of the issues on which this session is earmarked. What panchayats have done, what they need, the opportunities in changing the thinking and practice in panchayat. So I'll mention some of the core issues. First is the panchayats have been involved or maybe involved in huge awareness generation, and that they have done. But the problem is that they don't have so much of capacity to really make the awareness generation. There's a subject on which we must think of how they can do it, particularly in the context where a lot of rumors are floating. In fact, checking the rumors is a big problem that many areas have, so people are unnecessarily getting harassed and things like that. So that is something very important, and to tell people there's nothing to be panicked. So this is one dimension. Second dimension is to basically support to mitigate the sufferings of the people. The sufferings of the people who are migrants, sufferings of the people who have lost their wage. And actually the Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Yojana that has been floated, and there have been cash transfer, there has been material benefit. Whether these benefits are flowing or not, we had a very quick review and things are not very good everywhere. So how these are being reaching to the people? One is getting transferred to the cash in their bank account. If the bank is not opened on things like, there are a lot of problems that came there. So these are the type of thing where they can really act and that can be strengthened. Third is very important is how during this lockdown period, panchayats can be and have been instrumental in ensuring delivery of that all services like the public health services, the nutrition services, because Anganwadi centers have been closed. They are supposed to give them take-home ration. And whether that is flowing or not, whether routine immunization is going on or not, these are the issues on which panchayats can really reflect, and that's an area. And fourth is about guiding people to access the services beyond the panchayats, because a lot of problems people are facing about if they have any ordinary fever and things like that, where they will go, how they will manage it. So that coordination work is a big issue which the panchayats have faced, and they have been carrying it on. Then in coming days, there are few opportunities we must think of. The COVID, this pandemic, also opens us a big scope of repositioning our panchayats in public health management. Take case of hand wash with soap. Actually, we are having a survey, we found that not many people in rural area have even the infrastructure of washing hand, not to speak of using soap. We have found that it has increased, the incidence increased by 100% in the COVID period. We did a quick e-survey. But this being a case, and coupled with the fact the 15th Finance Commission has given that 50% of the fund is tied for wash-related activities. So how much the panchayats are equipped to strengthen public health, to strengthen wash, which is allowed as a 50% tied up, to improve the water supply services, which is essential, under Jal Jeevan Mission is also this target, and also improving the practice of hand washing with soap, which not only can prevent COVID-19 virus, but it can also take care of many illnesses which are communicated from hand to mouth. Now, their question comes, what are the institutional aspect? Is the Standing Committee on Health functioning properly? Do they have clear understanding of what they have to do? The panchayats in our country, in most cases, have so far been scheme-oriented. If there's a scheme, they will implement it. Good panchayats implement it well, bad panchayats implement it not so well. But if the panchayats are tied to scheme, the way I see that evolution of panchayat can take place is to take them out of the scheme and to behave as a local government independent of the scheme, what Dr. Balan was saying, the inner strength, whether out of their own, they can really immediately jump into the situation and think what can be done. So whether we can really see it as an opportunity to rethink what are the public health activities that can be spread by, that can be guided and piloted and steered by the Gram Panchayats. Because many of the preventive actions are not medical intervention. These are social intervention. These are behavioral change intervention. There are a lot of monitoring, lot of guidance, lot of enabling and empowering with the community level, which gives an opportunity now that even after COVID pandemic is over, can we reduce the diseases which are transmitted from hand to mouth through washing of hand, or can we improve the services? Then next, another very important question arises that this is some of the urban bodies have told me that their workers are doing the waste management. They were not prepared to manage the waste of COVID patients. They are handling their used mask, their used gloves, used other thing. Ordinary worker, the solid waste management staff, the conservancy worker, they are not that. They have been given gloves, they have been all this thing. But there are cases when they got infected because they have not been trained how to manage these types of highly hazardous waste. Actually, biomedical waste management is not a part of local government. This is a different act which takes care of the biomedical waste management. The face mask of a COVID patient is not a biomedical waste in that sense. It's a normal waste. But what type of precaution the panchayat should take, what empowerment the panchayats need to have, because solid waste management is one of the core civic responsibilities. And National Green Bench has passed quite a few orders about how the solid waste management, the segregation of waste, the processing of waste has to be improved within the time frame. How we can really improve that thing. Next comes how panchayats can be really empowered to tackle the economic problem which is going to emerge. There will be people who will be coming back as migrant workers. There could be a case where many of them will not return immediately. Maybe long term they can think of, they have a very bad experience. They will try to find something within the villages. Most of the people who have gone out were unskilled wage earners. So how much the panchayats can really strengthen the rural economy so that we can save them from starvation. In fact, that is a very critical point which the panchayats are going to face, because those who have returned or those who have lost their wage, lost their livelihood, how the panchayats can really take care of immediate measures for overcoming starving. The PDS has been strengthened. For 3 months, they'll be giving free the ration. But whether the service delivery at that level is good, whether the social distancing at that level is maintained. So this becomes a big area for the panchayats to be strengthened so that they can really take care of the situation where no one goes without food, where the service to the women and children are kept intact. so that all the service delivery institutions, they can keep on functioning properly, and also how they can reskill some of the migrant workers, give them work there, and take care of the problem they have been facing. There has been stigmatization of the migrant worker. The own village have declined to let them in because of communication gap, because of rumor, because of many other wrong apprehension. So these are the things that will come now that millions of migrant workers will be coming back to their villages. So these are the real issues the panchayats will be required to challenge. Are we prepared to do this? Then other thing is that I mentioned how to reposition our public health thing and how to really use GPDP and the Finance Commission, 15th Finance Commission grant, so that you can strengthen WASH. Many of the disease or prevention measures are related to WASH. In fact, we have suggested our government here in Bengal that we have different sectors of planning, have an independent sector of WASH. What you are doing on water supply, what you are doing on water quality, what you are doing on sanitation, on ODF plus activities, and the new entrant is hand washing practice with soap. Many may not have the ability to buy soap. Many do not have connection at home so that they can easily wash their hand. But this can go a long way, not only to fight COVID for next couple of years, but to all other diseases. So these are the things. Here comes a very important issue. Panchayats have been so much focused on tangible development, physical construction, managing manpower, all this. The issues which are emerging are non-tangible aspects of development. We don't see the COVID virus. We do not see many of its fallout. But how the panchayats can be strengthened to understand, this requires a higher level of understanding what are the intangible aspects of development which panchayats should be empowered, which they can measure. And many of these intangible things cannot be measured. It does not have political mileage. People may not be able to see. You construct a big road, people will vote for you. But you create a condition where your public health improves. Not many people will appreciate it. So it requires more strength so that they can manage this issue as one of the important civic service they need to deliver as the core responsibility. Then comes the question of what are the health department, how? The health department has seen, and in many states the revolution is of different type, whether the health officials are devolved like Kerala or not, whether without any revolution, panchayats can be made to give leadership, that because much of the activities are at the personal level, at the individual level, at the family level. It does not require a government diktat. It requires a good understanding, good collaboration with the civil societies, be it the SHGs, be it other civil society organization, how they can really improve their public health management. Then the next question comes about whole change in the framework of capacity building of panchayat. A typical capacity framework of panchayat has been the traditional one. Now we have to bring in the post activities where I think all states should rethink that what are their capacity building plan, how we can empower them to take care of these type of emergencies, which are, as I mentioned, of intangible nature. Last point that need to be strengthened, what are the monitoring arrangement they have? We know that things are happening. In crisis, you don't really monitor better. But there are issues where we can do it. Now I'll stop here. Now we can have certain remarks and then we'll go for the concluding part. Isaac, I can see. Yeah, please.
Chairman, there are some questions. Shall I read it out to for the benefit of the speakers?
Yeah.
Chairman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I shall read out. There are a number of questions and comments from the participants. So I'm not able to read out all of them. Ramit Basu is a remark saying that this is perhaps the time for NGOs to redesign their interventions across the country and reroute it through the PRIs. It's a comment. Question to Saroj Das. Odisha has initiated the preparation of village disaster management plans last year. Has there been any effort or plan to integrate COVID-19 strategies into VDMPs as a long-term strategy? In any state, again, in any state, there are examples of, I mean, if in any state, are there examples of district and block panchayats also supporting directly or indirectly the COVID-19 initiatives by the Grama Panchayats? Then it may be highlighted. Tapas Sahu's question, because they'll answer, no? I mean, if they keep on answering, it may take more time. Tapas Sahu, now Mahatma Gandhi NREGS workers are working without mask. Is it not possible to work with mask? For them, it is possible to make some special mask so that they can work with mask. I mean, it's a comment. Now, what's the role of Panchayati Raj institutions in making Sikkim a COVID-free state? Vinay Maladi, how physical distancing is possible for such a big number of what is called MNRGS workers? Nandakumar, it's a quite interesting discussion on Assam and Manipur. How you rate the role of Panchayat Raj institutions there? Orissa is one of the state which is successful in handling COVID. How you rate the rate of Panchayat Raj? Nalini Nayak, what can the panchayats do to identify the migration corridors and register the migrants so that they are visible both at source and destination and get their rights as workers? Abhinav Sharma's question is, what about the core relationship between smart city and COVID-19 management? Jayalakshmi, this question is, the size of Gram Panchayat in Kerala is too big compared to northern states. So the Kerala experience has to be focused differently. Jayalakshmi, tomorrow we'll be doing that. Indira Rajapanda, how is the situation of stigma in the community towards the people returning from these temporary quarantine centers? There's another question from or suggestion from Dr. John Kurian. John Kurian is actually proposing an idea of, let me just pick it up. Coming up. Okay, okay, I'll read it up now. One second. Dr. John Kurian says that skilling of migrants is an important task of local self-governments. Is it useful to encourage skilled migrants to form their labor cooperatives to enhance their bargaining power in the host states? There are many more comments and suggestions and feedback. Thank you all those who have given this feedback. Over to the chairperson. Dr. M. N. Roy, over to you. These are the questions that came from the participants. Hello. Hello.
Mr. Das, can you read the question?
Dr. M. N. Roy, may please unmute. Yeah. You can speak. Yeah.
Mr. Shalas, the question from 11 for Odisha. Mr. Dash, can you hear us?
Yeah. I'll respond to Mr. Amit Basu questions. Yes, Odisha, you know.
Comment only.
Yeah.
It's not to be answered. It's a comment.
Yeah. Odisha is a disaster-prone state, it is known, and we are amidst this COVID-19 fighting. We are again having another cyclonic storm heading for the Odisha and West Bengal. So here the question is that the response is that in case of fighting against the COVID-19 here in Odisha, the Gram Panchayat level, there is a community participatory approach, especially involving the youth masses, Mahila Mandal, as well as the women self-help group, and also the Gram Panchayat level federation in managing these temporary medical camps. As regards to the stigma, yes, and I understand stigma is running high. but our Honorable Chief Minister and the department is making lot of video film, successful stories from the sarpanchas who are the front warriors, how they are looking after the COVID Odisha returnee migrant people and stranded people with a big heart, with human touch, as well as with a sense of empathy. So question is that having the right sense of empathy along with a community-based approach response to the standard ODI returnee, I hope that is the solution, and we are very often adhering to that practice. And as regards to the social distancing, we have gone for the standard operating procedures, especially relating to bathing, relating to their bed, arrangement of bed, even the food. Even we are went to the extent of evening arranging the recreations and motivational talks and early morning yoga for them, so that the stigma and should not easily that die down, but it has been neutralized by the leadership of sarpanches. So this is what exactly we have been trying at Odisha, especially with the help of the local people, local folk artists, even the motivational speaker. And regarding the disaster management plan, yes, COVID-19 we have taken into note, and also because of the upcoming storm, the shelter centers which are earlier used as the TMC, the government has directed the Tahsildar as well as the Revenue Department, BDO and Collector to relocate it if it is within the 3 km from the seashore line. So COVID-19 is being handled by the Panchayat, rightly supported by the grassroots workers and extension officials for getting the line of their control or the department. So entirely a teamwork, and with the right direction from the health department as well as from the Panchayat department, and Honorable Chief Minister is directly managing this. So
Please be brief to the question, and also answer about the block and district panchayat's involvement. Please be brief.
Yeah. Sir, as regards to the block and district panchayat involvement from Finance Commission grant, for upgradation of the different logistic system or the sanitation system at the block level or at the district level, the government of Odisha has given 10 lakhs, 5 lakhs and 10 lakhs rupees to the intermediate panchayat and the block district panchayat to support the medical system already there by going with the special effort or special logistics arrangement. The block system, the block panchayat and the district panchayat are mostly involved in monitoring and supervision, and besides that there is a dedicated monitoring format, and the steering committee has been formed at the block level to monitor the temporary medical camps located at different panchayats. So this is what is the involvement of the block panchayat, especially as a steering committee member, and the chairman and the other members, they move from one place to another place to see that the SOP at the quarantine center is being respected and adhered to. So this is what exactly I can,
Professor, anything to comment against the question from Northeast?
Roy?
Yes,
I want to ask
yes,
a clarification to
please.
Mr. Das.
Yes.
Now, Orissa defining the local governments as the disaster management authority at local level is a very important event. What I want to know is, what percentage of local governments in Orissa has already prepared local mitigation plan? 50%, 70%, roughly?
Sir, I'll exact number percentage I cannot at this time can make it, but I can tell you, sir, especially this special power is given to fight out the COVID-19. So at the local level, I can tell you, sir, to the extent of more than 50-60% panchayats have been well planned their COVID management 19, especially relating to the stranded people, those who are quarantined at the panchayat level. As regarding to the recovery plan, and I hope we are working out on the in the platform of MGNREGA and NRLM and other schemes, and maybe I'm not in rightly we to make a observation at this point, sir. Sir.
Now, after the local governments prepare the mitigation plan, is there any authority that has to formally approve it, process it, like DPC?
So, sir, this is our effort, our present endeavor is to for managing the COVID-19 pandemic, especially temporary medical camps. So that focus is the priority of the government now. And because we are getting every day around 50-60,000 people coming back from different states. So that's the priority at the panchayat level. But bigger plan is being worked out by the state planning board. They have 4 thematic area where they are working. Maybe very soon they will come with the blueprint, which I'm not exactly at this point aware of it there.
Okay. Mr. Girishan, if you have any comment on the Northeast related issues which are raised, or the questions which came.
There was a question on how do you rate the role of PRIs in the Assam and Manipur.
Please be brief and
right. In fact, despite the devolution not happening to the desired level, like funds, functions, and functionaries, I think the local governments in the Northeast, both based on the 73rd Amendment and the 74th Amendment, as well as the village councils, they have been doing a good work as people's organizations. I think that's what. And primarily, especially in terms of handling migrants, I think the government of Assam has already started preparing a detailed plan of action. I think they have so far within the last 2 weeks, they have received almost 6 lakh migrants in Assam. And they have been preparing a detailed plan of action to address the issues of migrants. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mukhia, there has been a question. Sikkim is COVID-free, although you have mentioned the discipline of the people and things like that. If you want to add anything more on this issue, please. Mr. Mukhia. Mr. Mukhia, can you hear? Okay, Mr. Balan, you have anything to add to what Professor Girishan has said about Northeast related question?
Please.
Okay. And then I'll please.
In fact, I was very keen to hear the experience of North and Northeast. For the simple reason, this is a region by and large has not been seriously affected by COVID. But now with the return migration, things are going to change. And I think local governments are going to have a very, very important role identifying people who have returned, because there is no centralized system of keeping track of all those who are returning. It's everybody for himself or herself, walking along, trudging, coming back to the village. And therefore, it's only the local government who can identify who have come and put them under observation and so on. Therefore, local government role is going to be very, very vital importance in the entire Eastern India. Yeah, I think we will be able to rise to the occasion and demonstrate what is the potential of local government. Thank you.
I conclude the session because we have exceeded by 8 minutes so far. The point that I want to make that let us take is also an opportunity to strengthen local government. Now they have proved their worth that during emergency, they are the first to come and respond. So in this situation, only they need to be empowered. They need to be enabled with legal or other authorities. And I think the dialogue has to continue now onward so that we have more good cases and see how they can be empowered and enabled, and so that they can rise up their occasion out of their inner strength, even without any guidance from the government. With this particular one example is that they don't record the migrant worker. Many states have huge number of migration. They do not know who are going out and where they are going out, how their life is there, what type of support they need. This type of new protocols have to come to strengthen the local government. So these are the issues that will be possible. And so these are the things that I want to mention. Unless you have anyone else have to mention something else, or Professor Isaac have to mention something else, I think we will conclude this session.
In fact, Very fascinating session, and much enlightenment has been given by the panelists and, of course, the chairperson on an area which, as our minister rightly said, potentially challenging region. Much less has been talked about it, and we have learned a lot. Thank you very much.
There is one request for the participants. I hope you will use this opportunity, occasion, to write down what you have been speaking. It's important that we document the local governments, what they do, and their experience. And we'll try to put them all together into one volume or something, how local governments responded in various states and analyzing it and so on. It should be done. So this is our request to you.
Yeah. Hello. Can I?
We are transcribing it. That's not. There is a limit to what you can say and explain within 10 minutes or 15 minutes of your time. And therefore, please elaborate, write up. And we are very keen to see, and particularly the coming 1 week, 2 week, what is happening on the ground. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. We will reassemble at 2 o'clock. Please get back after lunch. Thank you very much. And
Thank you for
all those
giving.
who are
Thank you
online.
for giving.
Yeah.
Thank you for
We'll have
giving
lunch
all
together
our
when you come next.
opportunity.
Yeah, next when you meet, come, Kila, and Gift Together will host a lunch for you.